Hey guys, Marissa at KitchenTableStamper.com. I've got another card for you here in the retirement series. This card features Stampin' Up! Your Sublime, which is retiring. There is no guarantee that this will be in stock anymore. It was low inventory as of this morning. So if you want it, go get it. We're using the Submarine image on this card this time. You can see some other cards with these other images on my blog. If you're interested, check out KitchenTableStamper.com. We're also going to use the Stitched Shapes Framelits dies. We're going to use the Stitched Square. I already cut that one out, so it's the biggest one, I believe. Let's just double check that. And then I'll know when I'm finishing up the project sheet. Yep, it's that very biggest stitched square that we'll be using today. I'm also going to be using some retiring Stampin' Up! Embellishments. I love this 1/8" stitched ribbon. It just makes me so happy. I've got it in the smoky slate here, and it ties like a dream. We're going to use that on the clip here. We're using these mini paper clip from a mini paper clip combo pack. I used a silver one there. I'm going to use a white one this time. They come with silver, white, and gold. These are on retirement sale right now. And we're going to use some of this silver sequin trim. And this is also on the retirement list. I'm going to take, I don't know, maybe, what is that? 2-3 inches off of there, and I'll do that right now before we move this aside. And I'm going to pull off the last sequin because it's going to shed it anyways, and trim the end of that. Okay, so we're getting our embellishments ready here, and while we're at it, let me just go through. We're going to use the Stampin' Watercolor pencils to color this card in a basic black Stampin' pad. Now let's take this little bitty paper clip right here. We're going to thread one end of this 1/8" stitched ribbon into the paper clip. And what do I have there? Maybe 3 inches. It's all 4 fingers plus a little. And then we're going to fold up, make a loop over fingertip to fingertip, and slide that other end through. Now those loops are pretty big. Let's bring them down a little smaller. Put it at the top of the paper clip and trim the tails. Now we have a cute little bow paper clip embellishment. Isn't that great? This ribbon is perfect for that, and the tiny little paper clips are adorable. All right, we'll set that aside. Okay, we've made our cute little clip. We've got our sequin trim ready. Let's look at our consumable paper supplies. I've got a 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4 smoky slate card base. This is a 1/2 inch by 5.5 piece of Daffodil Delight. I have that square I talked about, Whisper White, cut with the largest stitched shapes square. This is from Pop of Pink, and it is 2 by 5.5. I'll show you the rest of that paper pack in just a minute. And then I have a scrap that's about the same size as the square that we're that we're stamping on. What is this? About 2.5 by 3 inches, and we're going to bump up our little submarine and our fish, so we'll stamp it twice. All right, I'm going to stamp my background and watercolor it, and then while it dries a bit, I'll show you the Pop of Pink paper, which is on the retirement list, and it's a fantastic paper pack, so I'll show you what's in there after while our submarine's drying. Okay, I've got my basic black Stampin' pad, and we're gonna stamp our image twice. Once for the background on that stitched square, and once to color and fussy cut. All right, so we want to review our placement here. We need to make sure that the sentiment is low enough that we can add our little embellishment off the top of the square. You see that? So we're going to make sure our submarine is nice and low. There it is. And then we need a second one to fussy cut and pop up. And there it is. I have a scrap of Whisper White cardstock here, and I like to scribble my watercolor onto the cardstock and then use it as a palette sometimes. It's just another way to get some color We need a Daffodil Delight, basic gray, and Bermuda Bay pencil. We also need orange. Let's see here, pumpkin pie. All right. I've got both aqua painters here, and we're actually going to use this one with the wider brush. We're going to use the narrower one in a minute too, so just set that one aside. But first, the wider brush. On the stitched square Submarine, we're going to pick up the Bermuda Bay pencil that I just scribbled onto Whisper White scrap of cardstock. We'll pick that up, and then we're going to do a water wash on this piece. Do you see how the brush just kind of rinses itself? We can add a little darker around the edges and let it just wash itself out. And just add in a little more color around the edges and letting it wash itself out toward the center. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. It's gonna dry a little bit lighter than it looks right now. Let's set that aside to dry. I'm gonna clean out this wide tip brush and then move on to a more fine tip. Now for my Submarine, I'm going to color it with a different technique. My fish first, I'm going to just really lay in a solid line of color at the bottom of the fish. And then I'll use my water brush to soften that. And my fish will have kind of a natural shadow there down at the bottom. All right, happy with those guys. We're gonna do some of the same kind of coloring on the Submarine. I'm going to add my color more saturated at the bottom left corner here of my Submarine. Can make a shadow at its belly. And it's almost solid coverage. Up the side a bit too. And then I'm going to, with a much lighter hand, I'm going to color the rest of the sub. So I'm just sketching in the littlest bit of color. And then where it meets, we can kind of make a moderate amount. Here, I'm going to go pretty solid. See how I kind of drew in a shadow there? And then lighter. Here, I'm going to go with more heavy coverage and then lighter toward the top. And then on the periscope, we're just going to color it in lightly. The tails of the Submarine here are going to get full coverage that will just blend, and so is that very little bit at the end there that's in between the two basic gray pieces. Now, starting with a clean brush, we don't want to bring any of that Bermuda Bay or pumpkin pie into our Submarine, but we want it to be a wet brush, not soaking. We're going to start where we've laid down more color. And working in small circles, we're going to wet and blend that color. See, there we go. Then we'll very carefully start to move that darker saturation into where we've made a lighter saturation. Soften where the two saturations meet, and here we'll do the same. I'm actually moving a little bit of color out of there so we preserve some of that gradient. Okay, there. I hope you can see the difference in the saturation. All right, then lastly here I want to grab my basic gray, and I'm going to color those little pieces of the propeller in with solid basic gray. And with a clean brush, we'll just touch those areas to blend. Now, in the windows of my submarine, I am going to make the very lightest little crescent. Do you see that? I'll lift it up just to make sure that you can see it on the video. See that lightest little crescent that's in the windows? I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm actually letting a little bit of the color pick up from that scratch paper. And we're just gonna soft blend that from blue all the way out to nothing. There we go. Now our windows have a bit of a dimension. All right, let's set these aside and let them dry for just a second so they'll be easier to cut. And I'm gonna get that Pop of Pink Designer Series paper and show you the patterns in there. Okay, so the Pop of Pink Designer Series paper, this is the herringbone or chevron that we're gonna use today. And it's got this pretty melon mambo and black triangle pattern on back. I love this paper because even if you're not a pink fan, you get all these great black and white patterns. Here's a melon mambo and white polka dots with a black diamond on the back. There's a little black plus sign, and it's got melon mambo stripe on the back. Pretty white with basic black polka dots, and then basic black with melon mambo and white hearts. This is a specialty designer series paper, so you get two 12 by 12 sheets of each of these designs, and then you also get this pretty gold foil specialty polka dot and this fun confetti or like sprinkle gold foil pattern. So it's Pop of Pink. It is on sale right now at the retirement list and makes a really fun accent to any other colors. You can see how great it works with the Smoky Slate and Daffodil Delight here on this card. All right, let's go ahead and adhere our papers to our card base, giving our background even a little bit more time to dry. We're going to run a line of that on this Daffodil Delight and add that along the extreme right edge of your card. You want to check the back before you burnish that down and just make sure you've really got it against the edge there so you don't have to do any trimming. And there's our card base already. Let's get our little Sublime guy here and add our embellishment. So I'm just going to take the paper clip here and run it over the edge. And then I've got my sequin trim, and I'll fold that up and add a little glue dot on that top sequin. Then that sequin with the glue dot is going to get tucked right underneath the paper clip. And we'll leave the other guys kind of fly off the edge there. If you want to, you can add another glue dot underneath the sequin trim here so it doesn't keep falling over your sentiment. I will probably do that. There we go. That'll keep our sentiment easy to read. Now I'm going to grab dimensionals and add this panel to my card. Okay, you can see that I added quite a few dimensionals and they're sticky. Let's go ahead and put this on the card. I want it to be about an equal border of the chevron pattern all the way around. Next up, we're going to fussy cut our submarine and our little fish, and I've already done most of that for you so that you didn't have to sit through watching, but you'll notice that as I'm cutting out my submarine, I'm cutting just outside of the stamped line. That way when we lay the submarine over, it completely covers the stamped image that's already there. We'll do the same with the little fish. Now let's add them on with some dimensional adhesive. I've got these edges that are all left over, so I'm going to grab my scissors and just cut apart some of these little pieces and Let's see where I can fit them. So I need a little piece on the periscope. Okay, I've got all my dimensional adhesive on there and it's sticky. And we're just going to add in those colored bits right over top of the ones that we washed with water and Bermuda Bay. Look at that, isn't that sweet? Okay, there they are. If you've got any questions about this card, please let me know how I can help you stay crafty. Email me, Marissa@kitchentablestamper.com. Thanks for watching.